and gave reading glasses to people who needed them and sunglasses, and it was really cool.
Yep, so each day Shay would come and they would set up in the clinics an eye exam on the wall. They would actually screen them, see what their eyes were like, and then help them out if they could. Rob also assisted Amelia, or one way or the other, or whatever, but.
She did a great job.
Yep.
Oh, I guess one was the first Sunday service. It's like 500 people here in the place, and just seeing all the excitement. And the thing is there's not a time constraint on these people. I mean, they just go as it is. Let it, all hang out. Don't worry about time. Dance in the aisle. Just show God's love, and I was amazed. Then the other one, the Nazarene one, had like maybe 30, 40. And the sound system was very unique, kept going out, but still the love was there. I mean, God's people were there, They give you the shirt off their back. It was just amazing. I'm going dead right now, thinking of things, but just a wonderful time. Didn't get used to avocados hitting where we stayed at nighttime in the Wyoming house. About 3 o'clock in the morning or so, you'd hear this loud burst, and an avocado would hit the metal building and shake you up, and it was like, whoa, Yeah, I mean, it was very loud. The food was very unique, interesting. A couple days, I think last time we didn't eat because we were feeling a little squirmish. I lost weight, which is hard to believe. It's hard for me at this age to lose weight. But what I liked about the services, there was no dad jokes for 2 services. I had to throw it out again.
That works.
I had to do that one. But what a great time. Kilimanjaro we got to see a couple times. And what was the other?
That's it.
Meru. Amazing sights that we got to see. I got to be, I think at times, I would yell out as we're going in the vehicles, I would yell out at people and say, jumbo, jumbo, and hello, and the kids would just love it. One day we took balloons in the back of the truck. I mean, that was an experience right there. The driving over there is very unique. It's on the wrong side, and they pass, and you're going, are we going to get hit head on? But it was fun. But the one day we were doing with the balloons, we threw them out. Most of the kids loved it. One we threw out, and this little girl ran away from it. She didn't want to have nothing to do with it. And it was like, but it was a great time. I let others share.
Sure.
Yes, an amazing time. Being someplace that, as a little kid, when I read missionary books, read about missionaries in Africa and how I thought maybe someday. And here I am, a great Grammy, and I got to go to Africa. Mm-hmm. A wonderful, wonderful experience. I got to teach Sunday school the one Sunday in Arusha, and the kids were really shy, and I had 3 adults along the side, and we talked about the mystery of God and how that we can search His Word and we can find the truth and we can dig in and discover what God has for us. And they were very attentive and very intense. They didn't want to participate much. But the part that I was really touched by was there were 3 people sitting on the side, 2 ladies and a younger gentleman. And afterwards he goes, so there's this man, and he hurt me, and how many times should I forgive him? And this was deep in his heart. He was wounded, and I know that God really used me to say, as many times as you need to, because God loves that man as well. And I could see in his eyes that stopping moment that said, oh, God loves us all, and we shouldn't hold a grudge, and we shouldn't want to get revenge. We should love one another. A mystery, how God loves everyone and wants to work in our lives and wants to restore us to right relationship was incredible.
I think the biggest thing for me was the medical clinics. Working in a doctor's office, clinicals are very different over there and very minimalistic. And definitely being pushed out of my comfort zone by Leslie. Because I'm not used to doing independent or autonomy, and I always have like the doctor telling me what to do. So I was a little pushed out of my comfort zone, but it was good. And one interesting thing in the video, the little girl that Amelia was playing the strings with in the red dress, she came what we thought was a broken leg at the time, and we sent her off for an x-ray. She came back the same day with the x-ray on a CD, and it took us a week to read it because we didn't have a readily available to read it with. And when we looked at it, it was clearly broken, and it was a spiral fracture, which is bad. Yeah, it's bad. So we felt awful that it took something that would have taken us 10 minutes over here, took us a week over there. So it was good. People are grateful for the minimal things like Tylenol, something that's also super readily available over here, not so much over there. If we couldn't help them, allergies as well, lots of itchy, watery eyes, but something they were just so grateful just to get 10 tablets of Tylenol, something that we sometimes take for granted over here. So it was very, very humbling.
All right, as you can see here, I forgot my robes that everybody else has. They're from their Maasai tribe. I think that's pretty fitting for me going into this
You can wear
trip.
mine.
Took me till,
Feel free
no,
to
that's
wear
for elder. It marks elder, so. Anyways.
It's true. It's true. It does.
I think it's pretty fitting for me. 2 months before is when I finally decided to go in and get my passport stuff started. So, yeah, I am pretty, what's it called? I'm a procrastinator. So anyways, I had the honor of being a gopher while there in the medical clinics, which kind of gave me a hand into all the different areas, and I got to see everybody in their specialty and what they're doing, and it was pretty cool to see how many people they were able to help. I think we helped 548 people, something like that, between...
My statistics were a little bit wrong, sorry. That was the first number, and then when we added them up again, we got 446. But in reality, we had lost some of the sheets, and Terry had given some sheets to take home, so probably close to 500.
Yeah. Well, still, it was crazy to see 500 people and how blessed they were by this team, and it's something I'll never forget.
I want to say one more thing about David. He was amazing. I was so blessed by having him there. He was our IT specialist. He set up the Jesus Film equipment, gave them instruction on how to use that in the future. And then the little girl with the spiral fracture, he set up a computer that was new so we could actually view the images. So thank you so much, David. So I had the pleasure as a nurse practitioner to be able to see patients. And so they had little cubicles that they set up for us, little tarps and things like that. The days were long. Before I get into that for a second, our day started at 6:30 in the morning. We had devotions and prayer before we got on the road. Pretty much every day, breakfast at 7 and on the road by 7:30. And then back by about 5-ish or so. So they were long days, but they were good days. We did 5 different locations for clinics. The last 2 days, we were at Sequila Clinic, which is actually a clinic building, so it was like, woohoo, uptown, But I saw, the last 2 days, I saw 3 patients with advanced cancer. And I actually pulled Terry in and say, take a look at this. And he said that they were, like a lady had a big abdominal mass and was limping and probably was metastatic. And so we're very, very sad about that. And so I pulled in as many people as I could find to pray over this lady. And as I was standing there thinking, oh, my mustard seed of faith, you know. But, you know, God says he uses mustard seed faith. So we may not see the miracle or what happened on this side of heaven, but we prayed for everybody at a couple clinics towards the very end of the day when we're all hot and sweaty. It was very high humidity. A couple men came in for something. I can't remember what they came in for, but I endeavored to ask every single person, do you know Jesus? And most of them said yes. One person said, no, and I don't want to. But two men said that they would like to know Jesus. And that was the very end of the day when we were all tired and ready to go home. But it was so cool because I was able to pull Sheridan in there, who pulled Simon Kachonga in there, and they felt like they were very genuine conversions. So that's, you know, the biggest miracle of all is someone to come to know Jesus, right? That's huge. So I'm so thankful that that happened. And then just a little thing that I was going through, which I never told anybody except my poor husband heard about it daily, was my right knee was bothering me the whole time. I could walk normally, but I could not bend my knee fully, and it really was painful, especially when you were in a squatty potty. Not to get too much information. But anyway, it was a problem, so I was contemplating when I got home to, you know, try to see if my primary care provider would order an MRI for me and all this stuff. Well, anyway, a couple days after I got home, I realized that my right knee didn't hurt anymore. I had total flexion. And so that's just a little testimony. I was just like so blessed. And God still heals today. We lifted him up as healer during our clinic visits. We lifted him up as Savior, and he still does that today. And so I just encourage you, if you have something you're struggling with, don't give up, because God is the God of impossible.
I'm not really sure what to say about what I did, but I'm supposed to, I know. But I guess what I wanted to do is just kind of let you know about the people there. They're very poor, and poor in resource, but rich in spirit. They're subsistence people who grow corn and beans on their land, and if it doesn't rain, they go hungry. And if it rains, they have some crops, and that's what they eat, basically. So they're very poor people. And when we went to Simon Kuchonga's church, the Nazarene one in Arusha, one of the things he said about at the completion was, he said, people come there, physicians and nurses, and they treat and diagnose patients, people who have problems, and they write them a prescription and they leave. And he says, but people don't have any money to buy the medicines. It does no good. And he was so grateful because we purchased, and you purchased, lots and lots of medications that we were able to give out at no charge, and they really, really appreciated that, and he expressed that. The other thing I guess I can say is, not this trip, but the first trip I went over there a number of years ago, I looked at everything that I did as minor, because you're doing it under a local anesthetic, and here that's no big deal. You know, it's just, we call them ditzels, you know, it's just no big deal. I had a lady come in early, one of the first patients I saw, and she came in and she had a thorn, you might say, or a sliver in her buttock, and she'd had it for like 15 years, and she couldn't sit on that side. And then when I say a thorn, this was a piece of wood that was larger than a toothpick, similar size, but larger than a toothpick. And it's really simple to remove it. This thing gets, what happens, your body isolates it. You make a little tiny incision, grab it, slides right out. It's a piece of cake. Well, we went to church that Sunday, and this lady I didn't even recognize, by the way, but she got up there and she started gesticulating and just, I don't know, it was like she was excited anyhow. And she was, of course, talking Swahili, so I understood nothing. But anyhow, she was really, really animated. And afterwards, Aludi said, "You know who that lady was?" I said, "No." He says, "That's the one you took the sliver out of her butt." And she says, "You saved her life," because now she can sit down. And it's been putting up with it for 15 years, and she was so happy. And you think about such a little tiny thing, so simple, and yet it's so meaningful over there, where people, they suffer. It's you know, you can imagine if you've ever had a bad toothache, your jaw's throbbing, it hurts. They can't even get a Tylenol. They can't even get an ibuprofen. They suffer. So the little things mean a lot. So I guess that's it.
Excellent. So are you getting a pretty good grasp of what we were doing? I mean, we went there, and you would say, I'm not sure we can do much. But what we can do, we want to do. And so we would set up each day wherever we would be, whether it be a clinic or whether it would be at the orphanage or going to the worship services, whatever. They were really glad that we were there. It showed that we were united in our faith and that we were united in Christ, one Spirit in us, together, united. And that went through the different church organizations, whether it was Nazarene or not, and we were able to come together, and it showed an incredible thing. Rob picked on me, so I'll pick on him. You know, how was the trip for an older person? See, I would like them to know if they were older, could they possibly even go and thrive on a work and witness trip, a mission trip?
The airplane ride was 14 hours. I'm 6'1". It doesn't work. It's very hard to get comfortable. When you have people next to you about the same size as me, it's very hard not to put your head on the person next to you.
That was David.
Yeah. I dropped my pillow once, and I think it ended up over near David. It landed on my lap. Yeah. And I'm over there going like this, and it's like,
Are they able to do it? Were you able to do it?
Oh, yeah, I'd do it again.
You'd do it again.
I'd do it again.
So most people, what keeps them away from Africa is the bugs. Were there any bugs? I know you saw some. We videotaped some. But were there any bugs there?
Yeah, there was definitely bugs. In my room, there was a termite mound that started, and in their bathroom, there was a termite mound that started. And you could see hundreds of bugs moving. I also have a video of it in my room. So
They didn't move, but it was enough. No, not a lot.
So they were always moving within the mound. They didn't share a bed with them much, I don't think. They did hop in the shower once in a while, and so you would find some in there. But for the most part, they were sustained, and then they came in and treated them. Yep.
I took a picture of a grasshopper, at least what we consider a grasshopper. That thing was longer than that. And I'd never seen a grasshopper so big. But what really reminded me of, if you've seen it on, I don't know, those nature shows where swarms of locusts come in and they devastate the crops and people starve because of that. I saw that recently. It happened up in Kenya. When you see how big these grasshoppers are, and there's millions of them, you can see how they can take a cornfield out in a heartbeat. It was impressive.
The spider that you saw in the video, it was in the main living room area. So David killed it with his shoe, but then the next day it decided to come back with only 4 legs. So the other spider picture with 4 legs is the same one, but we actually killed it the second time, for real.
I got to talk about the termite mound. I've never seen one taller than me, and these termite mounds were not in our room. In the safari, and I'm going, I can't believe this. You know? Yeah, 12 feet. That's as high as they get, and it's like.
So that's what they were expecting in their room when they woke up in the morning. We also had a lizard that visited our place quite often as well. You'd be sitting there and all of a sudden you'd see this flash of black across the wall. And
Amelia wanted to play with it.
yeah. So those are the bugs. Could you live with that? For the opportunity to serve Jesus, can you do that? Can you put away aside and say, I think I could live with bugs? There was, many of you asked because I was quite fearful, could I take enough toilet paper? And I'm glad to say there was plenty of toilet paper. Always at our place that we stayed, there was always toilet paper and a toilet and all this normal and that kind of stuff, and that was great. When we would go out onto the clinics and things like that, what do you call it? Squatty potty? All right. So for guys, that's not so terrible, unless...
Yes, it is.
Okay, it could be. If you had to go, which... I never had to go. And then and then the possibility of being able to say, I didn't get diarrhea either. Praise the Lord. Aren't we praising the Lord? So if you went on a mission trip where there were some bugs and you did get a stomach thing and you had diarrhea, had to do the squatty, could you do it? Yeah.
I refrained.
Yeah. The food... Every morning we would get up and go to breakfast, and I would say, what do you think we're having for breakfast? Toast, a hard-boiled egg, bananas, some peanut butter.
The best peanut butter.
Some butter that you'd put on your bread that it never melted, no matter how hot it was. You would get coffee, and there would be a tea with cream in it, so it was sweet. And I like that. It was very good. I look forward to it every morning. But you have the same thing. The next morning, it's the exact same thing. The next morning, we're there, 17 days total, but a few days travel. Huh? 13 breakfasts of that. And so you sit there. The meals, on the other hand, were meals that we would get to eat, which was a rice, and usually had a gravy chicken sauce that kind of you'd put over it with meat chunks in. Did I say meat chunks? With chunks in it. It was usually, I think it was chicken. Some say goat. Okay. So the goat that was in there, and then I don't think they used the best cut of meat to go in that. Matter of fact, I think it was like just chopped, and lots of times you would get gristle, bone, or fat all in there. So some people stopped eating meat and pretty much just got the gravy part, I think, if she took that. Did you even take that? Yeah, they put on there. It was pretty tasty. And so they put that on there. And I just chewed it until I finally could swallow it. And you eventually could. Anything we ate everything they gave us over there, we recognize and understand many of them would be very pleased to have what we were eating. They were being very kind to us, feeding us, helping us to eat. So whatever we ate, we would understand whatever we left was probably going to be taken back and given to the workers and given to the people. And if we gobbled it all, there would just be less for them. So usually it was one plate full. You might have slipped in an extra piece of something here or there, and then the rest we would let go back because it would. I did not lose any weight. I ate 3 meals a day plus snacks. It was great. So if you ate the gristly goat meat, you were fine.
Can I share about Simon's
Okay.
church? 3 of us went to, what was it called, David?
Arusha?
What we did. Plastering Simon's house. Interesting way they do it. It started raining, and Pastor and I were called in by Simon to go in the house, but somebody decided to stay outside and help carry buckets in the rain. And David's doing pretty good till he looks over at one of the guys from the church. He's carrying 2 buckets, and these are full of, sand. And David kept keeping up with him with the 1 bucket. But what I want to share about is when we went in to eat, Pastor talked about, how they make their food and everything. there was a 5-gallon bucket full of Chipsies, which is French fries. And David said, no, you guys eat. No, you guys eat. Simon's wife said, no, we've already eaten. You eat. And it was like, it came close, didn't it? I mean, there was other helpers too, but I was amazed at their hospitality and their sharing, you know.
Any questions that you would like to have? There is so much more we could begin sharing and take you all day to do, but we won't do that to you.
How does the missions, like, how do you go?
How do you get to go on a mission trip and live with bugs, worry about toilet paper, and what was my other ones? How do you get to do all that? The truth of the matter is, you come, you hang out at the church, we begin to pray first, and we begin to say, God, do you want us to go? And then, as God says, this is what I'd like you to do, our missions president says, here's where we're going, this is what we're going to do, and we begin to form a team, and then that team then works, raises funds, gets the things together, and this church prays over and sends us.
Thank you all for that.
That's what I wanted to hear from all of you. How do we get to go on the next one? Other questions? Ooh, yeah, everything off on the side. Mm-hmm.
Could you just tell us a little bit about the wraps that you guys have?
Yeah, who would like to share about the wraps? Who knows what each one stands for? You do? There you go.
Not really, but I'll
Kinda
pretend
know.
like I do. The men they're all color coded. I believe these both are elder robes.
It's based off of how large the squares are.
Okay, based off how large the squares are. So Rob's old, so he gets the smaller squares. And then he has the little bit bigger, and then Terry has one as well. But Maasai robes is a group of people that live over there, and the men and the pastor, I believe, robed the men, and then the women robed us. And she has one that has like zebras on it. Mine's got pottery. Hers has got zebras. Amelia's is tie-dye. It's for the watoto, which means child. And then I believe, was your mom's yellow with giraffes on it? Yeah, yellow with giraffes on it was.
So the group of people that were around us was the Maasai tribe, and there's like, I think our guide for the safari was saying there's 120 or 125 tribes in Tanzania, and so the area that we were in, the Maasai tribe is the dominant people there, and so that's what these robes are from, is the Maasai people, and she was saying, it's based off of your status and age and all that.
Excellent. Another question? As I lose my robe. No. Where? Oh.
I just had a question about the orphanage. I was
Yep.
kind of interested in how the children come there, how many children were there, and how easy or hard is it for, let's say, us as Americans to adopt those children, what the country's rules are.
Okay.
The orphanage is a division of what's called IEO, International Evangelical Organization. It's based out of Poulsbo, Washington. That's a U.S. division. And when we were staying, and the host was basically, what would it be, IEC, yeah. So anyhow, it's a division there. And yes, you can, I don't know if you can adopt them or how easy that would be, but certainly you can support them because they have a program specifically to support a child, and they'll send you pictures and, keep you updated on that child. And we can get that information for you. But they send out a newsletter once a month. If you're a regular, I don't know, I don't think you have to be a contributor, but if you are, I know you'll get a newsletter. I don't know if it's every 3 months maybe, I can't remember. And one of them specifically about the orphanage and what's going on there.
So I asked Aludi how the children get there. He said that government officials will approach them for certain children that need help. Also, other people will come to church elders, various churches, and request that, and then they do an interview process. And so the neat thing about this orphanage is that they don't just house them, but they educate them. So when they get to a certain age, they go to the schools that are private schools, Christian schools. So they, it's a long-term solution for them.
I just wanted to add one more thing about that school. Another division of IEO is schooling, and they have primary all the way through, I think, essentially what would be our high school. And in Tanzania, and I think probably other African nations as well, you have to take a national test. And whether you're going to get in college or where you're going to go or whether you're going to pass, et cetera, has to do with a national test. These children, the school, I don't get too much detail here, but the school was funded by a group, again, up in Poulsbo area. I can't remember the name of the bread. There was a bread that's, what was it, Jacob's bread? I can't remember the name of it now. Ezekiel's bread. And they founded that, and they got bought out, but they're quite wealthy. And they, and another person who was a business person, basically supported these schools. These schools, when they take, or this school, I should say, on the IEO campus up there in Tanzania, when those students take their exam, they're the top scoring students in the nation of Tanzania. They really do well, and many of them come from the orphanage. So that's what's really cool.
So I'd also like to say, I mentioned this last time we spoke, that the cooperation between Simon Kachanga, who's the district superintendent for the Nazarene churches in the Arusha area, and Aludi, they partnered together. It was beautiful. It was just, to me, I didn't know how this all was going to come down when we were trying to put this trip together, whether there'd be super good cooperation or what kind of snags we'd have with that. But when we got there, it's just like God took care of it. He took care of all the details, and then the love of Christ between the two organizations, I mean, it just blew me away. I don't know if it did you, but it was just amazing.
Okay, Ron wants to talk, so here.
Just a minute, Ron. What I was amazed at the orphanage is there was an albino kid, 9 or 10 years old. He interpreted.
He was helping me the whole time to communicate with the kiddos, and he was so intense and so concerned that we would get the right message, and he just spoke for me to the kiddos and helped me to be able to share with them. Albinoism is not looked upon favorably in Africa, and so he was just a super blessing, and I'm sure that being in the orphanage itself protected him from a lot of problems.
Being albino in Tanzania is, the people outside of the Christian faith would look at him as having magical powers, so he would be murdered. He is not safe on the outside of that complex. They'd cut up his body parts to obtain magical powers, so they keep him there in the orphanage.
I think there were 40, you can correct me if I'm not right, the rest of the team, but I think there was 48 children that were there at that orphanage at that time.
This is for the whole team. It's an emotional question. The trips I've been on have been primarily Mexico, one to Peru. But how did you feel in the midst of their worship service when you didn't understand a word, but yet they were touching the hand of God, the face of God? How'd you feel?
Who wants to talk?
Going to the church services and being surrounded by so much energy and so much joy, there was not a doubt who they were worshiping and who they were praising. And we could just join in with our joy and with clapping, with the smiles, but these people were all in. We all need to be all in.
I think Teresa just said it, basically, what I was going to say. There was no doubt. You didn't understand the language, but you know, no doubt what they were worshiping, and the enthusiasm is just unbelievable. And when I first went there, yeah, it's a culture, different and everything, but if you were asking me what was the best part of the whole trip, Sunday with the worship services. I mean, it's incredible. It sticks with you forever.
Yep. Yeah, both churches worshiping God in the culture and the way that it is. It was really good. It's great to be able to see a Church of the Nazarene there, and we really do. You can tell we're the Church of the Nazarene. It's really cool to see that and to worship together. Was awesome.
Well, Cassandra had a question, but she was being a little shy.
Yeah.
They've always asked, being in 5th grade and stuff, what do you want to be when you grow up? And she never had an answer. And she said after watching this, she now wants to be a missionary and wants to ask the pastor, how old do you have to be to start that, either here or in another country?
Yeah, so the pastor will give his answer, and then we'll let the missions president talk about that. But the pastor's answer is, we start now. We're missionaries now. We do it at local level. We try to plug in with the district at district level. So in the United States, we try to take levels where we'll say we'll help in different parts of the country, or like Mexico or Canada. You know that far off place of Canada? And then we go for the biggies, and we say, so we want you to start now to work locally in our town, in our community, blessing other people, and continue to do that. And the next time that one of these trips come up, Alice is going to say, I want to go. You're going to say, I want to go. And we'll ask God, Lord, do you want me to go? And then we'll go. Yep. And then we'll ask your mom. Or your grandmother and your grandmother, father, and say, are you going to go? And they'll give excuses why they're not going to go. And then we're going to talk to God, and finally God will say, oh, I think you can do it. When can a kid start saying, I'm going to start the process of missionary work?
Now.
There it is.
So that's exciting, Cassandra. And who was the other girl's name?
Alice.
Alice. So, yes, we'll involve you every step of the way.
Yep. Any other questions? Yeah. You've had yours. No, I'm just kidding. Here first, then I don't know where.
My question is for Amelia. Everybody else talked about age, and you're more aware of what goes on in the world. This was a big step for you to go that far, halfway around the world, to show God's love. I was wondering what the most impactful thing that you experienced was.
I think I really liked seeing how thankful the kids were when we would give them a toy, and how they probably don't really have very many toys. So it was exciting to see something new that they could keep.
There would be often times that we would look over at Megan and say, where's Amelia? And she would say, I don't know. Amelia would be going and doing stuff, and she worked right along with the rest of us in accomplishing the mission that we were doing. So lots of times we'd try to find her, but,
I just wanted to make a comment about starting into missions as children. I know that at the local level, definitely our NMI president can help with that, but also on a district level, we have children's ministries, and they have a lot going on in missions. So if you get started locally and then get involved on the district, and then as you grow and God directs you, as to where he's going to send you later on, you just take it, start now and start locally, and then on the district level as well, there's a lot of opportunities. So just wanted you to know that.
Any more? We're good?